It is 10 o'clock. I anticipate people will probably still be joining us as we go along, but I am so excited to see everybody. And we've established currently on main campus, it's doing a little bit of sleeting and snowing here. I see we've checked in and with Art and Betty Ann, there's snow where they are. And then we can't even talk about snow because with Wanda in Vermont, it's a big deal. But I hope where you are, it's a beautiful day and that you are all healthy and well and getting ready to have a blessed holiday season. We want to welcome you to Coffee with the President. And we're so happy to have our president with us to Zoom. We can't meet in person, but this is the next best thing. So we're going to try to enjoy the visit, get some campus updates. So where you're at, when he starts speaking, if you look down to the bottom left, you'll see a microphone that says mute. You can click on that, and then that way we won't be able to hear any noises or distractions in your background. And then there'll be a time you unmute and then come back and talk with us if that's okay with everybody. So just briefly, I have from coming to you here from the main campus, Dr. Hess and Donnie Lipscomb, Frank Woodward, and my assistant Jared Zanuck. Jared, will you wave? We want to welcome him to our office. We're excited to have him. And I see we have one of our alumni board members from Southwest Virginia, Judy Houndshell, if you'll wave. And I expect our president will be on shortly too, Dr. Gary McCann. But welcome. And Dr. Hess, we are happy to have you with us, and we'll let you just take it right over and kick it off.
Well, thank you all, especially for being here today. I know you got a lot of things you have to attend to. Let me go ahead and apologize in advance for saying that there is so much going on that I feel confident I'm going to forget to mention everything. But I do see some people on, Dr. Brill, and some who will know more about what's going on than I will. So perhaps if I do overlook some big type of item that we should talk about, Judy, some of you can help me to not omit something we should say. Let me begin by saying it's been a really good year, although a bit challenging here with COVID-19. It has impacted some of our students, some of our faculty and staff, and some of our alumni. I continue to hear updates about people who are being impacted by COVID-19, and so I just pray that this will pass soon and we'll begin to see some healing among all of our constituents. For LMU, this has been a good year. We have some outstanding results for most of our programs where people have taken licensure exams. We've been extremely pleased that, to my knowledge, all of our programs are ranking very high as far as student success and their licensure, certification, exam results, those sorts of things across all of our professional programs are just outstanding. Our graduates continue to have higher than national average placement rates. And where we have statistics, and that's not across all our programs, but the graduates tend to be getting very good jobs with good starting salaries compared to our peers, and we're so happy for that. A lot of things are taking place on campus, a lot of construction. We've been very busy the last several years with construction projects, and there are several underway now. In Knoxville, we're renovating the old St. Mary's building, which is a 9-story office complex and a classroom facility. We're renovating to initiate new programs as well as to relocate our nursing program back to that site. The nursing program operated in that facility for over 30 years. And with the renovation that's taking place, we're going to introduce some very progressive programs there that I think will help to raise the profile of the university and continue to provide opportunities for students from our service region. We're primarily interested in helping to promote life in the Appalachian region. We take students from all over the country and all around the world, but we focus primarily on students in underserved regions of Appalachia. And there, in addition to just an outstanding nursing program that I'm sure you're all familiar with, we're under development, and we're a long ways from having implemented, but we're under the process of developing a potential program in dentistry and a program in optometry, which we're so proud of. Just a couple of years ago, sort of on the other end of Knoxville, we opened a new branch of our osteopathic medical school, which is doing extremely well. It opened with 125 students, and this past year took 150, and this fall will take 175. These will be training physicians. In addition to that, last year we opened a new program there for our physician assistant program. And it has a very unique concentration in surgery, which is a very needed area for physician assistants. This coming fall, we are hopeful that we will open, and at this point, it looks like we'll have full classes perhaps for both a doctor of physical therapy program and a doctor of occupational therapy program. So those things are underway in those facilities, which are relatively new for us. On campus, I'm so proud that after, I guess, 40 years or more, we are completing the renovation of the Abraham Lincoln Library and Museum, and that should be open right away. They're finishing up the parking lot and so forth now and preparing to return the artifacts to the museum. It will be an expanded area with additional displays that we haven't had before. And we're doing, I think our trustees have allowed us to do just a fantastic job of renovating that facility. It has a new roof, expansion, additional space, just a great job of making that facility sort of a entrance to LMU. It is right at our main entrance, and we'll invite the public to come and see what we have to offer, which is one of the largest Lincoln collections in the world. It's actually a world-class facility and collection. In addition to that, we're continuing to do some other renovations on the main campus. There's a road that is being connected to Highway 63, which will be a major improvement for us. We have had in recent years quite a bit of traffic by the main campus. And although there is a stoplight and that sort of thing, it has become really accident prone. And so the new entrance will relieve a lot of that, will make our campus very accessible from Highway 63. And I think will provide just a real relief to the campus by making sort of a pathway around the main campus that people can get off and get to any facility that they want to get to. I'm sure that most of you are aware that in recent years, the campus has grown sort of behind what was our traditional campus to include several new facilities that extend back toward Highway 63, with the addition of the sports complex, the new veterinary medical facility, didactic teaching center, of course, the medical school, phys ed, math and science. Campus has actually grown pretty extensively in that direction. Everything this past year has been impacted by COVID-19. We had our first virtual graduation. I hope you get an opportunity to view that. It's on our main webpage. and you will get to see at least photos of all of our graduates and to hear the remarks from people who spoke at that event. It was our first attempt at a virtual graduation. It is my hope that we can resume in-person events like our homecoming, which I really missed this past year, being in person. It was a good virtual event, but those are different and a little harder for me to get to see people and get to. Those are some things that are going on. The new programs continue to develop. In addition to looking at the dentistry program, we're looking at some support programs there, in particular a dental hygienist program and that sort of thing. We're really trying to meet the needs in our area, and there has been a very serious look at what is needed in the service area that LMU is in. I mentioned those professional programs. We're also looking at the undergraduate level
Good.
to extend opportunities. And it is good to see Dr. Grill, and that reminds me that our board allowed us to introduce a new program this coming fall, which is, I think, very innovative, and I think will have a tremendous impact on our area. So many students in this area have a hard time seeing themselves in some of our graduate professional school roles. And the program that we're going to do is sort of a pathway program where if a student starts here in one of our pre-professional disciplines, and that includes nursing, education, business, as well as the medical fields, we're going to provide direct pathways for them into the advanced programs. By that, I mean that if a student comes here and is, say, pre-law or pre-med, and they declare that major, and they take all the right courses and maintain the right grades, it won't be automatic. They will have to meet certain milestones along the way. But that will make them first for consideration for admission to the professional degree programs. That is so important in encouraging students to come and take advantage of the strong academic programs at LMU and in helping us to control how our students are able to access those types of programs. I'll give you an example. We have almost 7,000 qualified applicants now for our medical school. And of course, with the expanded facility in Knoxville, we're going to take more than we've ever taken. But that's a small fraction of that number of applicants. Over the last several years, we have sought to increase the number of LMU graduates going into those professional programs. We've been successful with some of that, with more going on for physician training, more going on for veterinary training, legal training, those sorts of things. But we feel like this program will signal to our service area our commitment to that area and the commitment to improving the opportunities for students from our immediate area to enter some of these programs, which we are so fortunate at LMU to have been able to initiate over the last several years. And so that's a major thrust for us. It is extremely competitive right now for undergraduate students. There are fewer students graduating from high school over the next several years than there have been in the past. And we want to be sure that LMU continues to connect with those students, to let them know there's opportunity, and to try and get them to take advantage of the programs here. There are so many things happening that I don't know all the details for. I hate to admit that as president of the institution. It has grown significantly. I have been here for over 40 years, and I can tell you that it is increasingly difficult to keep up with everything that is happening. We have some excellent people in place. Of course, you all know Cindy Witt, who works with our Development Advancement Office. We have vice presidents in each of those major areas, and the jobs that they do are remarkable. So I rely heavily on those folks to help me to keep up with what's going on. I don't think, though, that talking about our new initiatives for reaching out, we're doing some work with marketing and advertising, those sorts of things. But there is no better network than the alumni network for LMU to spread the word. And so I do seek your help in identifying students who would be good fits with LMU. You know, I talk a lot in these kinds of meetings about what's new and what's changed and that sort of thing. And much of what's lost in those kinds of communications is that this remains a very good place for young people to come and to develop strong relationships and to be supported in their educational pursuits, much like it was 40 some years ago when I came here. And for some of you, less time, for some of you, even more time than that in the past, but it continues to be a good place for students to come and be supported and to pursue a high quality educational experience and to be comfortable. So I do seek your help in spreading the word about our programs and about the things that are available at LMU and just sharing that rail splitter pride. We've had this past year so much challenge in things like our sports programs. We didn't have seasons at all until just recently with some of our baseball, basketball things that are getting started. We are under a great deal of stress. Games are canceled. Students don't have the activities and the outlets that they'd like to have. We are very, very hopeful that going forward into the spring, we're going to see a return to action for all of our student athletic teams, some that couldn't compete last fall. We're hoping we'll be able to have some of their seasons in the spring. And so it's very important to a large segment of our student population that does find that to be a good reason to be here and to stay with LMU. Now, I warned you at the beginning that I probably left out an awful lot of things. And I do see several people who know a lot about campus on the screen. And I would invite you, if I have left something out, either to help me to remember or to elaborate on what that might be. But that's just a small sort of campus update to tell you some of what's going on. We're having meetings now, and we will across the holiday season about how we're going to open in the spring. And we will be in seat for our classes. We may not start in seat. We have discussed the possibility of doing sort of an inner bubble quarantine where students might come back, do a couple of weeks of online instruction, and then re-enter the classroom environment. We haven't made a definite decision about that. COVID-19 is especially prevalent in our local community right now, more so than it has been up until this point. I saw yesterday that the state has the second highest per 100,000 occurrence. Just previous to that, we were first, I heard at one point. And so it is a very serious thing here. And we're doing a lot as far as precautions. We're practicing social distancing on campus. We require masks in any public area, classrooms, public areas of the campus. Constantly have people taking advantage of stations out there for the hand sanitizers, so forth. Our cafeterias basically serving students on a to-go basis, although we do allow limited in-dining, those sorts of things. Our response has really been successful. and that we've had less occurrence than many of our peer institutions, but we have had real impact, and I want you to know that. We're looking forward to the holiday seasons. A lot of our faculty and staff over the next couple or few weeks are going to take advantage of the opportunity to be at home and not be physically present. Our offices remain open, but it will be a smaller crew that will staff them and that sort of thing. And then we hope in January that we can get up and running. A lot of our programs are impacted because the high number of students here who are in clinical-based programs. You, I'm sure, know that our nursing school is very large. Our medical school is the largest in the state. And we have very large programs where students are going out and doing clinical experiences, and of course are impacted tremendously by what's going on in the medical community. But with that being said, Sheila, I hope I have given an update that has at least touched on a few things that you wanted me to talk about. Please let me know if there are other things that we should talk about, and I'll do that. But thank you, each and every one, for taking advantage of this. Sheila's doing a great job, and that entire department is doing just a fantastic job of trying to keep us connected to people like you who have a continuing interest in this institution and its success. And I'll tell you that we couldn't make the changes, the advances continue to operate without the support and all that you provide as our alumni. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Hess. That was great. That was just right on what I was hoping you would do, to share, because everybody I know is interested in everything going on here. We've got a lot to be proud of as alumni. We're all, I know, rail splitter proud. Can't hide that for sure. And to follow up what he had talked about with the recruiting for future students, I'm really excited about that, because we are getting alumni all across the nation that said they are ready to go and write cards, email, and talk to future students. And I know on this Zoom with us right now, Judy Houndshell is currently doing that with some students locally. So we're definitely interested in bringing in new potential students to LMU, and I appreciate each of you for all that you do. And I know Donnie has a video of the campus for us too, so we want to watch that. And I know I'm going to give an opportunity for some questions and things. So do you want to do the questions, Donnie, first, or hit the video?
Well, let's just go ahead and Dr. Hess talked about a lot of these places on campus, so let's just show the video and then we'll open it up after that. So
perfect.
Everybody bear with me. I'm going to try to pull this up. If I can get it, let's just hope.
Fingers crossed.
Now, is everybody seeing this right here?
Seeing
you. We still see you.
Seeing me. All right,
yes.
Let's. I'll tell you what. While I work on this, why don't we open it up to some questions? Why don't we ask everyone that has a question, just identify themselves, what year they were on campus, and your name, and just go from there. Is there anyone that would like to ask Dr. Hess a question?
Yes, this is Art Brill. Came here in 1950, graduated in 53. Would like to know what we're doing with the vaccine. Will a vaccine be administered to all the students when they come back, or how are you planning on doing that?
You know, Dr. Brill, we don't have information yet. Right now, what they're telling us is that in Tennessee, it's going to go primarily to medical providers. Now, that will impact a number of our students, and I'm glad you brought this up because a lot of our students will be doing clinical and rotation experiences through the medical school, the nursing school, the PA program, and all that. They actually will have access to the vaccine much earlier than the rest of us will. And then I think also in the state, there's an emphasis on people who might be in like a senior nursing home, skilled care facility, that sort of thing. And they tell us that it may be some time before that comes to schools, higher education institutions like LMU. We don't have good information at this point. I wish I could do a better job with that, but that's where our government tells us right now the focus is going to be in Tennessee. I guess that we are somewhat fortunate in that we have a much higher percentage of students in those fields than most institutions. I'm also hoping that it impacts our faculty who work in those facilities to oversee the students, because I understand the vaccine is highly effective and in treating or in preventing some of the illness. But at this point, we haven't received definite word yet.
This is Dave Fout, class of 69.
Yes.
I was wondering how you and your team are personally handling all this stress. Because I know it's got to be stressful.
You know, I really appreciate that question, and it's a good question. We started very early on with a committee. I'm not a medical person, and I don't understand most of what I hear from our professionals, but we meet on a weekly basis like this by Zoom. And in that, we have a lot of medical people, including just a world-class epidemiologist. And we're getting advice as to what we should do. I say to them all the time, tell me what I think about this and tell me what we want to do. And a lot of people would laugh at that, but at the same time, if you don't have that knowledge base, you have to depend on people. Dr. Martin Rand is chairing that committee for us and is handling things like contact tracing, when we have to put people in isolation or quarantine to be sure that they're attended to and all that. Your question specifically was about stress, and it has been a very stressful time. In the fall, we actually had our people work from home as much as possible. And so a good, and this is an estimate, but a good 90% of our people worked from home for the end of the fall semester. Then we came back and tried to do some things to get up and running. And that, or spring, and for this fall, we were up and running, and it was again stressful. We have for December, again, said to people who can work from home and do a productive job and continue to meet all their obligations to do some of that. The stress has been tremendous. For our students and faculty, we've undertaken a couple of initiatives in addition to having just a first-class counseling program with qualified mental health professionals to provide counseling to students and faculty. We went with a program called Well Connect, which provided online counseling and so forth, and access to those that were experiencing stress related to this. There have been a couple of faculty members who have actually retired, to prevent teaching in what they thought might not be as safe an environment. Although we're using plastic shields in front of our faculty, face masks, and other types of precautions like the social distancing. We have a lot more of our our classes being taught in sort of an online environment, or at least a hybrid environment. But the stress has been tremendous. And it's not just for those who can be at home, or those that can sort of socially isolate and so forth. We have a lot of people whose jobs require them to be physically present, and sometimes in closer proximity than they would want to be. A lot of maintenance staff, grounds people, security, frontline people. And while we're doing all that we can to eliminate stress for those folks, I wouldn't be honest if I didn't tell you that it has been a stressful time for them, and that we do feel very deeply for what some of our people go through. Um, there is a lot of stress for all of us right now, Dave. That's just part of this. I hope I touched on what you.
I think you did a good job. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Anyone else have a question?
I do, Donnie. Phyllis Ely,
Yes, hi there.
class of 69. I'm the chairperson of the Zeta Tau Kappa Alumni Association,
Yes.
and we have a rose garden
Yes.
somewhere in the pipeline.
Too long in the pipeline.
Yes, we've had some very generous donors who
Yes.
at this point are kind of afraid they're never going to see a rose bush. And we were just wondering where in the, the calendar
Yeah.
would something be happening. I have to say, my husband's family lives in the area, and we were
Yeah.
up there in October, and I took a ride through the campus to see what things were doing, and I almost got out and dug a shovel full, but I didn't. But we would like to know, is there some kind of, do we see the light at the end of the tunnel here?
Well, I want to be upfront with you and say that I have thought that we have been at that point a couple of times in the past. And so I think being open about it's the best way. There's been recent discussion about the location for that. And I did mention the new road system that's connected to 63. We have a couple of things on our campus that you may not have expected to see it at. There's actually now a food pantry. We have taken what was the organic garden and have turned it into a food pantry where students who have need are able to access food. There is some food insecurity among students. And near that facility, Phyllis, is where they're telling me that they're going to be quite a bit of sort of beautification of the area. They're looking at planting perhaps some chestnut trees, those kinds of things that are not as prevalent in our area. And that's where I'm told, and again, this could change, but I'm told that that's where they would like to locate Rose Garden, and that there are
Where would that be?
Huh?
Where would that be? Because originally we thought it was the hill behind the vet center.
That's it. That is it. It's
okay.
Yeah, but it's been relocated just a bit in the plan to where as you're entering the campus there, as you come into the campus, there's a little stretch there where you're on LMU property before you hit the buildings and so forth. But if you remember the building that sits directly sort of to the side of the vet center, that used to be the organic garden. They have taken out all of those old greenhouses and that sort of thing, and they're kind of landscaped all that area.
Okay.
And that's where I'm told it's going to be. It make a very attractive sort of an introduction to the campus as you come into that new facility.
Is that where that little cemetery is also?
Yeah, it's just down the hill from that. I
Right.
think the cemetery sets up on top and it is
Right.
below that.
Okay.
And I do wish that we had had action a lot earlier on that. So I don't want to dodge your question as far as when. I haven't addressed that because they are now in the process of cleaning that up. And since you are local, I would invite you sometime. Let's just go back there and take a look
Hmm.
and see exactly where it's at. And I will get some of our people who work with grounds to give a little more detail. Again, I don't want to appear that I don't know, but I don't have enough direct knowledge to tell
Right.
you exactly when that's going to happen. I do want, though, to acknowledge that it's good that you are bringing these kinds of things up because they can very quickly slide to the back burner as we deal with all the other
We're
things.
not going to let that happen.
Okay, okay.
I
Keep
have
us-
another question.
Okay.
When this project is finished, are there other targeted projects that the ZTKAA can work on? Small projects anywhere else on campus?
I'm sure that there are. That is excellent that you're interested in the group is in continuing to do those sorts of things. I can think of a couple of things that would be excellent for us to look at. If you remember, connected to Avery Hall, there is a small little garden with a gazebo kind of thing and sort of a sitting area. And
Mhm.
that was done, I believe, by the Alphas. I think Quentin Wax and the Alphas did that several years ago. But that kind of a thing in certain areas, once students are able to congregate and socialize in certain areas, I
Right.
can remember a campus when I was here as a student where there were more places for that sort of thing. There were benches.
Yeah. Little pocket gardens.
Uh-oh.
Lost
I
Sal.
think we lost the president.
I don't know what happened, but I
Well-
must have either said the wrong thing or stayed on too long.
No, I just got a message across there that says your internet connection is unstable. I don't know. That's weird because I'm on campus too.
Well, going back to that, I think those kinds of projects, they may appear small to the entire campus, but to our students and certain groups, that I think things like that could be tremendously impactful. I'm sure everybody remembers favorite spots on the campus. I will hear lots of people talk about the amphitheater and the sort of the spring house,
Yep.
different areas that they remember. Some going back to things that were here before that aren't here now. Now we have a Chick-fil-A and Starbucks and things like that. But I've heard people make reference to things like pump stand and we had a barnyard dinner theater. There were things that meant a lot to people. And Phyllis, I think your group and groups like yours can have a real impact on the experience for students. I think the Rose Garden will do some of that.
Thank you.
So it's powerful, and I appreciate that.
May I speak? Joyce Wyatt, 47.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of memories, even of the hunk stand.
Okay.
I know no longer or has not been on there for many years. I started going to LMU when I was a small child with my parents who were both graduates of LMU. And I was a member of Zeta Tau Kappa, and we have also worked on an educational scholarship. We have a
Yes.
scholarship that is given annually, and so I'm very proud of that. In addition to our interest in beautification of the campus, and the Rose Garden has a lot of good memories for us. I am interested, and I always bring this up, in how we respond to the immigrant communities that are here in Appalachia. We know that many of them are non-documented. I am delighted at the present time that DACA students can assess programs again. And while I know this is opening a can of worms for the school, I would like again to say how important that is to me. And scholarships that I would be interested in working with and have continued to work with would have a lot to do with that sort of ministry. I consider it a ministry, but also an opportunity for these people who have come to our country and do so many of the jobs that so many of us are unwilling to do. So thank you for hearing again my great desire in that area.
Well, thank you. And again, I want to be careful that I don't step into something that's controversial.
Yeah.
But I do want to say there are some things that you mentioned that are not controversial.
Yes.
And doing good for the people in this area is important to LMU. One of the ways that we do reach out, and I would point this out, is that there are a lot of initiatives here working with programs like Servolution, which provides free health care in our area, working with things like RAM and so forth. You know, when we protect immigrants, we protect all of us.
Yes.
In terms of health care and helping our community. One of our trustees, Dr. Joe Smitty, does some real innovative work throughout the entire region here with I think it's like a health wagon that goes out and provides dental and medical care and that sort of thing, and just is open to most populations to help people. The scholarship arena is one of the most important for us. You know, continuing, I think is a better way to say that, to provide opportunities for those who don't have the resources from whatever group. I don't think anyone would argue that diversity is good for an academic institution and helps us to ensure that our students get real world experience. So while I don't want to be controversial, I want to acknowledge, Joyce, that we are kindred spirits in ways of helping those that perhaps need it more than others. I remember being a very poor, somewhat less than privileged young man working on a farm in Virginia when LMU provided me that opportunity.
Yes.
I hope that we never get to the point that we have less interest in helping those that need our help.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate that and our openness, and I am an advocate. And as I can, I do work with the Hispanic community, particularly here in Knoxville and in our area. So looking forward to many, many improvements and continuation of LMU's wonderful heritage. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't mention, but things even like our law students working with legal aid and so forth to provide help, and our students going out and doing those sorts. Going back to your original statement about the hunk stand, one of my good friends and Art's good friends as well, Gary Burchett, speaks often. I think his mother worked on campus for a while, and Gary will sometimes have remembrances of some of those kinds of things that were just fantastic here. I hope we can get a lot more of that kind of environment for our residential students.
I also, thank you.
Thank you.
This is Wanda Eubank. May I interrupt here?
Go ahead.
Wanda.
May I?
Yes.
I wanted to follow up just a little bit on these small projects, and Joyce and Phyllis have said most of what was on my mind, but I'm a procedures person. How do we present an idea to campus? You know, we've established, we endowed a scholarship, and we've raised several $1,000s for the Rose Garden, and we're ready
Yes.
to move on as soon as that's in place. But what's the procedure? What's the process? And also, will there be a summary of this discussion out to the participants?
The best way that I know of is to work through Cindy Witt. Cindy is a member of the cabinet, which is a group of senior leadership people who meet on a fairly regular basis. We haven't met as often this year as we usually do, but Cindy usually is a really good person. And by the way, has reminded me about this rose garden and our dragging our feet several times in that area. Cindy's your advocate. She is also just a very good person to know how to move projects forward. As far as a summary, Sheila, I'm sure we can provide something
We will.
that people can see.
Absolutely, we will. And plus, this is being recorded currently to share with other people as well. So just a FYI.
Okay. Well, I was really just interested in how you submit a proposal or something. We want, when we start these things, we want to be, you know, we want to be in the proper pipeline and respect the channels that are in place on campus. But we like doing these things, and I expect as soon as the Rose Garden is blooming, we'll start something else.
Wanda, I will follow up with a procedure plan, you know, after we meet with Cindy.
Okay, that would be great.
I do want to thank you, Wanda, and you and Phyllis and Joyce all. You know, hold us accountable. It is too easy to slip back into this business as usual. There is nothing wrong at all with you know, continuing to push in these areas so that we will take advantage of what's being offered there and continue to engage you. The worst thing we could do is lose your interest. And I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, well, I'm going to hush after this, but we've had some really generous donations, and a lot of these folks are in the same age range as the rest of us elders, and they are seriously worried about whether they're going to see things.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
That's fair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Bill Hofford, class of 71. I have a question for Sheila. Some of us, of course, signed up for the alumni trip to Great Britain this year, which, of course, by necessity was canceled. Is there any chance you have an update on whether or not that might take place next year?
I do. I know the company, the Colette Travel Company that we have partnered with to provide this, is hopeful, but everything is going to hinge on how quickly those vaccines are able to be rolled out and gotten to everyone. There are some procedures that would obviously have to be in place, and then of course here at LMU, you know, we're not traveling and we're not hosting events, so everything would have to kind of come together. But Colette is hopeful. Our trip is the last week of June, and I know that currently I don't think we're allowed to travel from America to the UK. I think there's currently a ban. So the company is hoping to keep everything going. They want everybody just let it ride for a little bit and let's see how these vaccines roll out. So there's just a glimmer of hope.
Okay, thank you. Crossed.
This is Judy Teal. I was there from 67 through 70, and I was a Kappa. I guess my question is for Sheila. I'm interested in what the Zetas are doing there. That sounds like a great thing. And I just wonder, is there an active group of Kappas that do this kind of thing?
There is an active group of Kappas. In fact, our immediate past president, Cindy Sword Peters, I don't know if you knew her or not. She was very involved in having the Kappas do some things around the campus as well. So they do meet at homecoming, and they do keep in touch. So I'll be happy to put you in touch with that group.
Yes, I'd like that.
Okay, great.
And
Hey,
Sheila, I'll
Judy.
add, they also started the Kappa Gamma Scholarship. So that's another project that they took on here in the last few years.
Okay.
Great. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question for Dr. Hess. This is Walt Justice. I'm class of 2000. So, question I had, Dr. Hess, we're intimately familiar with LMU's mission statement, and it's serving the people of the Appalachian region and how dedicated we are to that. You've touched on that a few times in your update and some of the things, but recently we also have announced the development of the partnership with Austin P down in Clarksville, and we have the partnership with Florida Hospital and an LMU facility in Tampa.
Right.
Can you touch a little bit on the decision making that went into those partnerships, and then how that fits in with that core mission of LMU?
Yeah, that's a good question. Walt, I remember you well. And we had some wonderful times when you were here in the Student Alumni Association in different groups. And, I hope you and your wife are doing well. I followed your career a little bit through our connection on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
What we did with Florida, I'll start backwards with Florida Hospital, is that they kind of reached out to us because of the shortage of nurses that they have. It's a very large system, as I'm sure you are aware of. And they asked us if we would be interested in doing a nursing program. And so they helped to provide that facility for us. The program has been a lot smaller than we had hoped that it would be, but we're hoping to continue the program, expand it, and that sort of thing. It is a little bit in support of things that we do here. And I know that sounds odd, but not many of our programs actually go much further than the Appalachian region in terms of looking at placements for residencies, rotations, and so forth, especially like our PA program and our medical program. We have a lot of students who rotate through major hospital chains or systems. And Florida Hospital is one of those. The Adventist system there hosts a tremendous number of our medical students for rotations, residencies, and our PA students and those sorts of things. So cooperating with those systems helps us in order to be able to further our mission to provide opportunities for our students to get some of those sort of high incidence rotations. Some of the hospitals in our immediate area are smaller. Of course, we have the Knoxville system, the Ballard system up in the Tri-Cities, that sort of thing. But those are major systems that do a lot for LMU. And so when we're asked, we want to be good members of a partnership and not just take what we can, but also to contribute. The system with Austin P, we are looking at actually doing that with a few other key schools who do draw from our area and who have missions that are kind of similar to us. Now, they're a state institution and they're larger and that sort of thing. I don't know how much you know about our law school. It went through some real challenges early on in terms of attracting students, and we went through some early accreditation challenges. And that has kind of turned around, and the school is now at over 300 students and doing really well. This entering class was the largest that we have had, and the performance just continues to be really strong. But we're hoping to provide those kind of partnerships with some of the schools in our area because they attract pretty heavily from our service region. And if students don't come here as freshmen and we have openings, we want to provide easy access for them to enter our programs. The program with Austin allows their students who do exceptionally well and meet all of our entrance requirements to have a sort of an easier path to enter the law school. And that's what that is. You know, we have opportunities here that don't exist many places. I know I keep referring to it, but Dr. Brill's very familiar with the number of professional schools that we've added and that sort of thing. Those don't exist. And there are groups of schools in addition to the facilities and Austin P. we've talked about. Things like the Appalachian College Association, which is 35 small private colleges throughout Appalachia. And we have tried to work with those schools so that their graduates will have easier access to our professional degree programs. Those schools are not going to have professional programs like we do. The veterinary school is one of only 30 in the country, 30 something. I think it was number 30 when we did it.
Yes.
Okay, I wanted to be sure. Dr. Brill remembers better than I do on some of these things. And then looking at optometry, there are only like 20, 22 or something schools of optometry. And for us to meet that mission, we need these sort of strategic alliances. We don't exist independent of what goes on. Some of these health systems like Advent Health are major employers of our graduates. We recently, I have heard, and I want to be careful that I don't make a false statement, but like the UT system employs more nurses from LMU's programs than it does from UT's. And I just don't ever want us to lose that cooperative spirit. We compete, but more than compete, we want to be good members of all the communities that we belong to. We all do better when everybody succeeds. And so I hope, will continue to be the type of institution that health systems, businesses, other educational institutions will see as a partner or as a institution that wants to collaborate, cooperate for the benefit of students. Walt, I hope I touched at least on part of your comment. And thank you for being here. It's good to see you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Hess.
Yeah.
All right, we are nearing our 1 hour time limit, I think. So really quickly, is there any other burning questions?
I have a question, Sheila.
Okay.
It's about the vet school. What types of programs do they have in comparison to some of the other vet schools?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are there big hospitals where the students can go and work, or do they have to travel, you know, rather far to do those kinds of things?
Phyllis, you ask a great question, and one that I'm happy you asked so that I can address it. It's a different model than other vet schools. Is actually, I think, the first of its type. And what we did there is very innovative. We took some of what we learned from osteopathic medicine and applied it to veterinary medicine. Okay. And my numbers may be a little outdated because they continue to add clinical sites and rotations. But currently, as of the last number that I read, there are well over 800 facilities across the country, actually, primarily located in our area, but outside of our area as well, where our vet students can go and do clinical rotations and have residency facilities and so forth. We do not have a large animal hospital, which is a major expense. And what we have noticed is that our results are actually better. There's a licensure examination assessment that's given called NAVLE. And our first time pass rate on that was in, I think, the high 80s, or now it's in the high 90s. after only 3 years. So the model has been exceptional. Where it was really helpful for us was during this pandemic, when a lot of those facilities had to shut down for their own students as well as for any visiting students. And given the expanse of the network and the sort of system that we had, we were able to send students to places that were relatively safe for them to practice. We also were able to help some other institutions, going back to some of what Walt suggested, is that, or talked about, is that we're able to take students from other facilities into our clinical rotations because we had more capacity than we had students. And so we took something like, I'll mess up on the numbers, but a very large number of students who were at offshore facilities, even some from Australia who were in a very top flight vet school, but who couldn't go to clinicals there. And they were able to access some of the places that we had contracts with. And we used very specialized facilities in some cases where our students just get a tremendous practical experience in a specialty practice. But that's unique to our school. Now we're hoping to expand that and have more LMU students, which means we might have less capacity to help other institutions and their students, but it is different here in that the students do go out, and while they can primarily work in rural settings in Appalachia, they do have access to others as needed. And one of the benefits that we have seen to that is that we have one of the highest placement rates, and actually, this will surprise you, but one of the better starting salaries for our veterinary graduates. They're all placed in good positions, and most in rural Appalachia. Well, I better not say most. Let me say a high placement in rural Appalachia. I think it was a little better than 50%, but it does fluctuate from one year to the next.
Thank
The
you.
program's a little different. And really, I think a different model, I don't want to denigrate any model, but the results are good.
Thank you very much. The reason I asked is because I have 2 veterinarians in the family, and I want to promote LMU also.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Hess, for your time. We appreciate you taking time to visit with us and share with us all these updates today. It's been wonderful.
Very
Well, I
good.
think I dominated the conversation. For that, I wish I had not done so much stuff.
Well, we appreciate the updates.
Good.
Thank you, Dr. Hess.
And I also want to acknowledge that Dr. Art Brill is one of the members of our Board of Trustees, and we're excited that he was able to join us today. And I would love it if you guys would follow up with me and let me know if you would like more of these type of things or other things or ideas that you might have that we could get together this way until we can get together in person again. I would love it. We've got some innovative things we're going to do. We've done a painting class online with some of our Women of Service organization, and we're going to do some young alumni networking and some things like that, some trivia things. So if there's things you'd like, please share those with me, because we got to see each other until we can actually see each other in person. So I'm happy if you would please share some ideas with me. Before we go, I'm going to really quickly see if I'm able to do this little slideshow. Unless Donnie, did you get it? Anything going on your end?
Yeah, Sheila, I think I can play it. So
Okay,
we can,
go.
let me just go with that, okay?
It's brief, so if you guys hang on just a second, and it's beautiful.
How's that? Is everyone seeing that?
It started screen
Also.
sharing. Yay, there it is.
All right. had one.
Isn't that awesome? Don't we have a beautiful campus?
Yes.
Very nice.
Thank you, Donnie, for sharing that. I hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas and stay safe and healthy and well. And hope till we can see each other in person in 2021, please do keep in touch with us and be looking for all kinds of communications from our office and from LMU.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Christmas.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you.
Sheila.
Thank you for all your work.